Namaste, guys. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on the Transformation Q&A Thursday. Before we begin, let us invoke. Place your hands on your heart. Be aware of your heart. Be aware of your crown. Be aware of them together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to Grandmaster Cho Kuk Sui, Lord Mahaguru Jumedeng, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Saraswati, to Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, to the angels of awareness, understanding, and inner transformation, to our divine selves, our higher souls, we humbly invoke for your divine light, love, and power, for your divine help, guidance, and protection. We ask to be transformed with practical information and to utilize it in our day-to-day lives. We thank you, Lord God. We thank you all. With gratitude, respect, and love, so be it. Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. So we are again at the Sedona Public Library, right near downtown Sedona. It's a super hot day to be expected. It's, what are we at right now? Let's see. It is, yeah, just a normal day, just 106 degrees, piece of cake. So we are doing we're filming these videos and then posting them later, because many of you know the Wi-Fi has been really, really squirrely here in Sedona, no matter where I've been, in town, out of town, at the retreat place, at Airbnb, off the retreat Airbnb place. It just is what it is. My phone, the computer, it's just strange. So I want to get these together because I'm going to be leaving for St. Louis in 2 days to go to the Olympic trials, which I'm super excited to. A client of mine invited me and I said, absolutely, do I want to go? So super looking forward to it. But let's get into our questions, which, by the way, for those of you who sent questions, which many of you sent enough questions for probably 2 additional weeks. So super grateful for that. And I'll be getting to those in the next probably 2 or 3 postings that we do for the Q&As. So the first question is, should I tithe to my family? Should I tithe to my family? This is a really good question. So many years ago, Grandmaster Cho Kuk Sui developed a class called Kriya Shakti, which is the practice on how to use energy to materialize your needs, wants, and desires. It's an excellent class. And it's so funny. There's the old saying that there's spiritual truths hiding in plain sight. So some of the things that are revealed or pointed out in the Kriya Shakti class are so obvious. You're like, I've heard that for years and years and years, but it just didn't click. I didn't get it, right? So the principle that we can openly share of the 5 major principles of the Kriya Shakti course is the principle of abundance. So the principle of abundance basically is you donate 10% of your net income to a charitable organization of your choice, basically, right? And then you do service of 3 hours a week or more to, again, a charity or profit that you're interested in. Habitat for Humanity, blood drives, food banks, domestic abuse shelter, suicide hotline. So there's many different directions that you could go in, right? Helping the elderly, tutoring children. So basically you give 3 hours or more a week to people who can never repay you, right? In essence, that's the takeaway. But from the point of financial prosperity, if you want money, you have to give money, right? So people who have lots of money with no time, they have a tendency to just give more money, which gives them what? More money. But they want time, but they say they have no time, and they give no time, so they have no time, right? So for those people who are super busy, the best solution is service and giving time, and then you will get time and energy back. For people who are struggling financially, they go, well, I don't have the money, but I have all the time in the world, so let me just give more and more time. Well, what do they get back? More time, more energy, but they don't get back more money, right? So tithing is super important if you want to be materially and financially prosperous and you want to neutralize some of your ancient negative karma, because who knows what we've done in previous lifetimes, unless you have a very advanced clairvoyant who can be like, you were this in a previous lifetime and your lesson in this lifetime is this, and this, and you need to do this, and this, right? There are people like that, but they're few and far between to find. So again, should I tithe to my family? So without getting into the nitty gritty details of the tithing of the principle of abundance, which I'm not qualified or authorized to do, I can tell you this, that tithing to your family is planting good seeds of material and financial prosperity, abundance, and success. So yes, should I tithe to my family? Now, there are more details to that, but in essence, let's say you earn $1,000 a month, right? $750 comes to you after taxes. So you would tithe on that. You would tithe $75 or 10% of 750 to a spiritual organization of your choice and or family of your choice. Okay. So yes, that is taking care of your karmic obligations, karmic responsibilities. Really, that's pretty much I can cover without breaking some of the vows of silence, right? Which is actually really important. A mystery school, you have outer teachings and you have inner teachings. Outer teachings are typically taught in story form with some metaphors here and there. Inner teachings is giving you the energy aspect and the higher levels of truth, right? So Pranic healing is a mystery school. It has outer teachings, it has inner teachings, and inner teachings, right? And a lot of what pranic healing is revealing very high level truths in a very pragmatic way, which is very, very important. So that's why we can't give everything, even in a semi-private forum. You have to take the higher classes. You have to have the foundation of understanding. And it's not just the foundation of the understanding or getting the knowledge, but it's also the empowerment that's contained within that knowledge. So what do I mean by that? So one of the classes that Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui developed many, many years ago is called Arhatic Yoga. So Arhatic Yoga is the process to properly, rapidly, and safely merge and connect your little self with your big self, your incarnated soul with your higher soul, right? So it accelerates that. Now, I could teach you the teachings. I'd be like, okay, these are the exercises you do. This is the breathing that you do. These are the meditations that you do. And then this is what you do after the meditations, right? But what's missing is the spiritual empowerment. And the spiritual empowerment comes from God, goes through the great ones, goes through the teacher, and then from the teacher goes into your higher soul. So if someone who has not been empowered by that school or by that teacher of the school, the energy will not be there. So you'll be doing your Arhatic yoga practices, your Arhatic yoga meditations, but you won't have the energy behind it. Does that make sense? So it's very, 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 very important. People have this big assumption that they need more knowledge, they need more knowledge, they need more knowledge. Give me more technique, give me more technique, give me more technique. It's not really that. It's about where's the technique coming from, who's teaching it to you, and how often are you practicing? That's really what it boils down to. So should you tithe to your family? Yes. When should you do it? Monthly basis. Okay. Number two, what's more important, self-compassion or compassion towards others? This is a really good question that I've gone back and forth with and looked at over the years. What is more important? And I thought to myself, I know people who are kind and loving towards others, generous towards others, compassionate towards others, tolerant and patient towards others, but they're extremely difficult and hard on themselves. So I go, what is that all about? And I realized, well, it's connected to healthy boundaries. It's connected to self-esteem, self-respect, self-worth. So if you love yourself deeply, you're able to love others deeply. If you don't love yourself deeply, it's difficult for you to have empathy, have compassion, have understanding, and have love for other people because you haven't developed it for yourself. So I was actually talking with a client earlier today about what was it in connection to a client that this person was working on. But it was connected to enviousness, it was connected to jealousy, it was connected to lack of self-love. At the end of the day, you have to love yourself. respect yourself, be kind to yourself, because when you do that, you project those qualities on other people, right? So the reason we point a finger at someone else and go, that's a bad person, that's a mean person, how could they do something so stupid? It was connected to forgiveness. That's what it was. How could they do this, this, and this? Well, if you do self-forgiveness, self-compassion, self-love, then when you look at the other person, you have compassion, you have understanding, you have patience, you have tolerance, because you go, aha, I know what it's like to be there, and I don't want to be there. And I don't want them to be there, because it's miserable being there. It's miserable being in a disempowering state, right? So when you see someone else in a disempowering state and you've done work on yourself, you can look at them objectively. If you have not done the work, what happens? You criticize, you judge, you blame, you shame, you put guilt on that person. How could they be so stupid? Don't they know any better? They're an adult. When are they going to get their lives together? Right? So if you can continue to practice self-compassion, self-love, self-forgiveness, not when you feel like it, not when the shit is hitting the fan, not when you're at the bottom of the barrel, but each and every day of your life, whether you're up or down, when you interact with other people, you'll be coming from a kind, loving, sweet place, which will be beneficial for them, and it'll be beneficial for you. So if you're hard on others, it's because you're hard on yourself. If you're impatient with others, it's because you're impatient with yourself. But if you're kind to yourself, patient with yourself, and tolerant with yourself, that will be projected onto them. And that's actually how you help other people grow and evolve, right? Because if you're always criticizing, you're weakening their energy body. You're poking holes in it, like spears and arrows penetrating them, right? So then the energy is leaking out. So it's something to be aware of. So next question here. How does one exercise healthy boundaries? Okay, so I have a confession to make. Most of the questions that you guys ask, I have a pretty good theoretical understanding of the question, and I have a pretty good experiential understanding of the question, right? And so this particular one, how does one exercise healthy boundaries? I'm still in that process. And being here in Sedona has brought some very interesting, challenging opportunities for me to get completely out of my comfort zone. I was joking with someone the other day that currently I'm more comfortable standing in public completely nude than I am working on the particular exercising of healthy boundaries. Because when I was growing up, there was really no such thing as boundaries, right? There's no such thing as boundaries. So I saw people who had boundaries as cold, distant, and unloving. Meaning, if someone put boundaries on me of how to act and how not to act, I took it personally. I took it offensively. I took it as they don't care about me. They don't love me, right? But as I continued to grow and evolve, I had different understanding of like, let's see, people that have good boundaries, healthy boundaries, the key word being healthy, they have better self-esteem, better self-respect. They practice better self-care. They have typically more healthy, harmonious relationships with those around them. Because just like when people would put boundaries on me, I took it personally and I took it as they didn't love me. So as I got older, what did I do? Well, the people that I loved and cared for, I didn't have boundaries with. Because by putting boundaries on my needs, wants, and desires, I was showing that I didn't care about them, that I didn't love them, that they weren't important to me. And I didn't want them to feel that way. But then guess what? I felt bad because my boundaries were constantly being stepped on, crushed, manipulated. So for instance, a simple one is if I have 5 minutes to talk, right, with somebody on the phone, I'm going to in the front end of that conversation express, hey, I only have 5 minutes to talk and then I have to get off. What's going on? And then if I don't exercise my boundaries at the 5-minute mark, then I'm teaching the other person that my boundaries don't matter, they're not important, and that I don't matter and I'm not important, right? So it's my job to not only set clear, definable boundaries with somebody, but also enforce those boundaries and say, okay, Well, like I said to you at the beginning of the call, we only have 5 minutes to talk. Our 5 minutes is up and I have to go, and we can continue this later. Does that work for you? Like, you know, booking a meeting from a meeting, so to speak, right? Not leaving them hanging. But then if they continue to go on and on and on for another 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then what am I doing? I'm not clearly expressing, I'm not clearly enforcing my boundaries. So then I'm conditioning other people to not respect me. Does that make sense? So this has been a new learning opportunity for me because most of my life I've been alone or in some kind of isolation, even in relationships. So boundaries, the people that I was with had weird boundary issues, and I myself had weird boundary issues. So this is still a dynamic that I'm working on. But in essence, how does one exercise healthy boundaries? It's communicating your needs, wants, and desires, and then enforcing it when appropriate. Like I said, I could talk for 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. I got to let you go. Um, for instance, as I'm practicing my boundaries, when people invite me to do things, I typically don't say no. I typically don't say no because I want them to feel like I want to be able to receive, right? So if somebody invites me to dinner, invites me to a movie, invites me to do some activity, I don't want to say no because I want to be open to receiving. I want to be open to an experience. But then I realized, well, wait a minute, that's going to require me to do these three things. It's going to require this much time. I already have dedicated time to do this, this, and this. So then I'm in this quandary of what do I do? And the reason I'm in the quandary of what do I do, because I don't have healthy boundaries, because I don't understand, okay, no, I can't go, and it's okay. It's okay to say no, right? It's okay to say no. So people that don't have healthy boundaries typically have a very, very hard time saying no, or they don't say no, and then they blow up later. And that was more of my program around boundaries. So I wouldn't say anything. My boundaries would get stepped on, stepped on, stepped on, stepped on, stepped on, and then I would explode. And the person would be like, where is this coming from? Right? Because I didn't clearly articulate the boundaries in the beginning. So then we have disharmony, we have conflict, we have arguments. And it's interesting, as I understand it more now than before, our society in general doesn't have healthy boundaries and doesn't respect boundaries because we're so accustomed to people caving and giving in. So when someone says, no, that doesn't work for me, no, I have other plans, no, I'm not going to do that. And this is a big one. I'm still learning, right? Usually when I'm teaching, I'm the guy that has a greater breadth of experience and understanding. But in this particular case, I'm still practicing this. It's when you say no to something, you don't have to give the reason behind it. Like, I can't go to the movies tonight because of this, this, and this. I can't go to, the pool with you tonight because of this, this, and this. I can't have dinner with you tonight because of this, this, and this, right? You don't need to give reasons. I know that sounds weird, but you don't owe someone the reason as to justify and explain why your boundary is the way your boundary is. It just is. It's a conscious choice. I choose not to do this. I choose to do this. That's it. Right? So I hope that helps give a little bit more clarity on boundaries. Let's see. Next question. Should I heal others when I'm sick? In general, no. And when I say healing, I'm referring specifically to pranic healing. I'm not referring it to if you're a psychotherapist, if you're a psychiatrist, if you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, if you're an acupuncturist. I'm specifically referring to if you're a healer using energy specifically for your healing. I don't recommend it. So Grandmaster Chokoku Sui says, don't heal when you're sick and don't heal when you're angry. Don't heal when you're sick and don't heal when you're angry, because when your body's sick, your energy level is very low. And the person who's coming to see you for healing needs what? Energy. So they're siphoning into you, and they're pulling additional energy. Now, if you invoke, activate your heart, activate your crown, your spiritual cord gets bigger, more energy comes down. Fair enough. But that's not always the case of being able to maintain that, right? So you invoke to the supreme God, and then because your body is sick and needs energy and you're lacking awareness, that connection dies down pretty quickly, right? So the people need healing from you. They need energy from you. So don't heal when you're sick. And they're also congesting you and you're congesting them. So if you're sick, energy is passing through your aura into them. So it's contaminating them. And then if they're not doing so well and they plug into you, there's a transference of congested energy as well. So it's recommended to be rested, to be hydrated, to have enough food in your belly, but not too much. And then to do your spiritual practice before you do healing, right? That's what's recommended. So, and that's a form, you ready? We're tying them in. You not healing when your body's sick, even when requested, is a form of you practicing what? Healthy boundaries. But Christian, that's selfish. I'm a healer. I'm here to alleviate suffering and pain of others. Yes, but not 24/7, right? Because you have to take care of yourself first, self-love, self-compassion, self-forgiveness, right? Before you can take care of others, just like on a plane, right? Oxygen mask. What do they say? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you take care of other people, right? So if your energy level is low because you're sick, because you're tired, because of whatever, then you don't take on that healing session or that healing client or work with them right then and there. Make sense? Which has been very difficult for me because I've taught meditation 2 days of no sleep. I've done healings with many, many people with no sleep or being sick. There's a couple nuances to that. Wait a minute, how can you heal others when your body is sick? Because there are higher practices, right? Which we're not going to go into, but it's dealing with how strong is your connection to your higher self. And then you could be prideful about it. Like, oh, well, my connection to my higher self is super, super strong, so I can heal anytime, no matter what, no matter how sick or how healthy I am. Okay. Well, then look at the feedback you get from your clients. Are they getting better or are they getting worse after the healings? Right. That would be a good indicator. So no, I don't recommend healing when your body is sick. Let your body rest, let your body heal, and then get after it. Next question. I have lots of nightmares. What can I do to stop them? It's a really important question. I have lots of nightmares. What can I do to stop them? Well, typically, it's good to trace it backwards. So let's say you've been having nightmares for the past week or 2 weeks. Did something happen a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago that caused a certain amount of pain or trauma within your system? And then you're processing it through your emotional body when you sleep? Because we learn when we're sleeping, right? So when we interact in the day and we're taking in all the stimuli, right, from podcasts, YouTube videos, one-on-one interactions, whatever it is, our body is processing that information when we sleep. So if you're not getting good sleep, your ability to process and learn the lessons is greatly limited. That's why sleep is so important. So did you have a trauma happen to you that's preventing you from sleeping well? So first thing is identifying, did something happen? Number two, is the energy yours or someone else's? Let's say you have somebody staying with you at your house, or let's say there's a new person working next to you at work. Is the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, the nightmares, is it connected to you, or is it the influence of another person in your environment, your home environment or your work environment? Another thing is, if you get healing and or do high level meditation practices, it can stimulate old energies within your system. So deep stuff of fear within the solar plexus chakra starts coming to the surface. And then you start processing that information when you're sleeping, right? So it can take the form of nightmares. Okay. Also, what are you reading or listening to or watching before bed? Because what you listen to or what you take in through your senses prior to bed is what you take in with you in the inner world. So if you watch a horror movie right before bed, that's where you're taking into the inner world with you. If you eat food, a big heavy meal right before bed, people typically have nightmares. Why? Because most of our food is congested, heavy energies, and like energies attract like energies. And our solar plexus is digesting the food. So our solar plexus is being stimulated, it's expanding, and it's processing the food, which can also interfere with sleep and create bizarre dreams or nightmares. And get healing, right? There's protocols, pranic psychotherapy protocols for phobias, nightmares, things like that. Typically front, back, solar plexus, throat chakra, ajna, forehead, crown, back head. That'll typically take care of it. If you're doing a pranic healing protocol, other healing modalities, I'm not sure of. Yeah, but if you have lots of nightmares, it's probably a trauma that's coming out. A trauma that has been there for a long time as a seed, and now it's starting to bear fruit, come to the surface. So the sooner you can get on it, the better. Now, if you've just had 2 days of nightmares, wouldn't worry too much about it. But if it's an ongoing thing for months, then yeah, get that taken care of. Next question. What are the properties of gold and prana? Ooh. One of my favorite energies. So Grandmaster Choa Sui is one of the only teachers on the planet who has written a book that gives you the specific properties of colors, meaning red does this, yellow does this, orange does this, blue does this, green does this, violet does this, gold does this, electroviolet does this, and beyond, right? One of the very few teachers on the planet that has given so much detail about the energetic properties of colors. So without getting into too much detail, gold is concretized spiritual energy. So when we meditate, we bring down either brilliant electric violet light or luminous white light, right? And then as soon as it hits our aura, it becomes gold. So the two things that you need to produce golden energy is the human aura and spiritual energy, electric violet energy. When you bring those two together, you create gold. Now, the crown chakra produces gold and prana. As one becomes more advanced, the quality of the gold changes, meaning the gold that I have in my aura is much, much different than the gold that Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui or another saint has in his or her aura, right? So when we start out meditating, we have little dust of gold throughout our aura. Then the dust become more solidified and they start forming flakes around our aura and then sheets around our aura until eventually we are fully coated in a golden etheric body. This is what is known as the golden body. What's the purpose of having a golden body? To do greater service, to do healings faster, because gold is what? Conductive to higher spiritual energies, right? So we invoke to bring down energies. We meditate to bring down energies, right? As you do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, the gold stays. It doesn't dissipate in the person's aura. So then you become more conductive so you can do more healings, more powerful healings, and not deplete yourself because you're conductive to the spiritual energy of the soul. So it's very, very important. Now, you might be saying, what does it take to develop the golden body? Just do service. Don't worry about focusing on your golden body. Don't worry about being a pranic healing master, a Reiki master, any kind of spiritual master. Focus on service. The more service you do, guess who's changing your energy body? The higher soul and the great ones. So don't worry about it. I used to think for the longest time, I can't wait to be a pranic healing master. I can't wait to be a pranic healing master. I can't wait to be a pranic healing master. But I wasn't doing the service the meditations, or the healings, right? That would bring me to that level. So forget the title, just focus on doing the work necessary to be that. Does that make sense? So the properties of golden prana is it's slower moving than brilliant luminous white light or brilliant electroviolet light. It moves slower. It has a more localized approach, right? It's gooier. It has a regenerative, rejuvenating effect on the cells. So some of you are familiar with the Tibetan rites that are part of this program. So when you meditate, you generate gold. When you do the Tibetan rites, you infuse the cells of your body with golden energy that does what? Rejuvenates and regenerates your cells, making you look younger, right? My body's 74, can you believe it? Right? So I hope that helps. Golden prana is extremely, extremely, extremely important. So every time your body gets sick, it uses up gold. And every time you have negative thoughts, negative words, negative actions, you're using up gold, right? So it's important to be aware of what you're thinking. So if you get super, super angry, your body just consumed a bunch of gold, which depletes your gold reserves. That's a whole other conversation from the higher levels. But basically, if you can maintain your stillness, maintain your inner peace, gold builds up in your system. And then it's much easier to be still, much easier to have prolonged inner peace and prolonged concentration. Make sense? Excellent. Okay, next question. When I look in the mirror, I don't like the person I see. What should I do? Okay, that's a fair statement. Many people have a hard time looking at themselves in the mirror. They don't like what they see because of what? Low self-esteem, low self-worth, negative pride, inaccurate perception, self-delusion. Right? We have the assumption that people have self-delusion about how ugly they are, but it works on both sides. You think you're superior to others, or you think you're inferior to others. Both is self-delusion, both are negative pride. So I'm always reminding people to go back to the self. What is the self? Light, love, and power. So if you saw yourself as a being of light, which you are, what's not beautiful about that? What's not magnificent about that? What's not awe-inspiring about that? It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful, super, super bright. So, but if you look at yourself from the vantage point of the physical body, and then you compare your physical body to the physical body of modified human beings or physical body of people that think a certain kind of physical body is desirable, what happens? Your self-esteem goes down, right? So it's a form of negative pride. You think you are below other people. Actually, I had this conversation with my son the other day, and he had some big fat light bulbs going off in his 16-year-old head, which is great. Get him early, right? Get him early. Think about if we had these tools and these techniques and these teachings when we're 15, 16, 17 years old, where would we be now? But we can't do the what if scenario. What's done is done. The lessons happened when the lessons happened, the experiences happened when the experiences happened. So whatever, you let it go and move on. So if you don't like the person you see in the mirror, you have to first recognize you are a soul. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's the Atma, higher soul, looking back. I am that I am. So you can look in the mirror and you say, Atma Namaste. I love you. I care for you. Atma Namaste. I forgive you. Atma Namaste. I see the divinity within you. Atma Namaste. I recognize the divinity within you. And what you'll start to experience is expansion. When you see who and what you really are, you expand, right? But when you feel horrible, not enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not rich enough, not whatever enough, you do what? You shrink. So you want to stay expanded, and you stay expanded by knowing who you are. Okay. That would be one exercise. Um, the other way to combat low self-esteem is through humility, right? So humility is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. And it has nothing to do with tying your self-worth into that thing you're good at or thing that you're not good at, right? So let's say you're really, really good at playing the piano, right? The way negative pride shows up of is, yeah, but there are so many people who play the piano better than me, so therefore I'm not really that good of a piano player. Negative pride, low self-esteem. Or you play the piano really, really well and you don't acknowledge that. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's not really that good, but it is good, right? Right? You know if you're good or not good. Okay. The other side of it is I'm better than everyone else in the world. Nobody plays the piano as good as I do, right? Negative pride. Because that would be subjective. Even if you were the quote unquote best player in the world, that's not going to be for everyone. There's going to be someone who likes another piano player better, right? So it's about recognizing I'm good at playing the piano, and then maybe I'm not good at sports. And then you could say, well, why am I not good at sports? Well, because I haven't practiced, I haven't invested the time, the money, the energy, right? The focus on becoming good at that, just like I did with the piano. So you have to see it realistically, not unrealistically. So when you see something unrealistically, it's negative pride coming up. So if somebody's not good at sports, but they have low self-esteem, they're going to rationalize and justify why they're not good at sports to make themselves do what? Look better than where they currently are, right? So you, again, you want to separate your self-esteem from the external world. So it's like, okay, I've developed the ability to be good at the piano. I haven't developed the ability to be good at playing sports. That's it. It's not I'm a good person because I can play the piano, and it's not I'm a bad person because I can't play sports. Does that make sense? So it's seeing things realistically. So humility is I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, but my self-worth is not tied or connected to either of those things. Okay, hope that's clear. Next question. Is a saint worth more than a sinner? Ooh, almost tied in questions here. Is a saint worth more than a sinner? No. Qualitatively, a saint and a sinner are exactly the same because they are both children of God, children of the Most High, right? Now, how that is expressed in the world is different. So the quality or the essence is exactly the same between the saint and the sinner, but the quantity is what's different. Meaning a saint has a quantitatively stronger connection to their higher self than the sinner or the savage or the tyrant, right? So they're both worthy, they're both valuable in the eyes of God. You could say, well, that person makes millions of dollars. It doesn't mean they're more worthy than the person who is homeless. Well, that person drives a Lamborghini. It doesn't mean he's more worthy than the person who drives a 20-year-old used car. Likewise, the homeless person is not more worthy than the billionaire. The person driving the beat up pickup truck is not more worthy than the trillionaire, whatever, right? So a saint and a sinner qualitatively are the exact same. Just like a drop of water from the ocean and the ocean are qualitatively the same, quantitatively, the ocean is bigger than the drop of water. So what does that look like in society? It's how they express that quantity into the world, right? You're given a certain amount of time on this planet, you're given a certain amount of energy, you're given certain ninja powers, certain weaknesses, negative tendencies, and then your goal is to utilize them to the best of your ability to become a better person and a better soul and to be of more service to humanity. And that's it. You work with what you got. You work with what you got. So you can choose, you could look at your life, look at another person's life and go, their life is better than mine. Yeah, but their karma is different, their lessons are different, their life experience is different, and you have no idea what their subjective reality is, right? You have no idea what their subjective reality is. Because let's say they had everything. They have the millions of dollars in their bank account, multiple cars, multiple houses around the world, known by millions of people, and inside they're rotting. Versus the person who has very little money, very little resources, but has deep, deep fulfillment within. Which would you choose? Right? Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have all the external world, worldly goods and possessions and not be happy. You can, absolutely. But we have to stop training our minds to look outside and to compare, because that brings up jealousy and enviousness, which does what? Shrinks us instead of contracting us. So very, very important. Keep that in mind. A saint and a sinner are the same worth. It's the quantity of the energy that they're projecting into the world that's different. Next question. I've read a lot of Feng Shui books, and there seems to be a lot of contradicting techniques and practices. How do I reconcile this? Excellent question. Excellent question. So you have books, right? You have 5 books on Feng Shui. And each of the book has its own interpretation of universal teachings, right? Some of them say, have a water fountain in front of your house, in front of the entrance. Some of us say, have the water fountain outside the house in front of the entrance, inside the house in front of the entrance, at the top of the stairs. Sometimes they say, no waterfall, no water element of any kind. Sometimes it says the front door has to be south facing. Sometimes the front door has to be north facing. Which is it? What's accurate? So this goes back to practicing discernment. So discernment means to judge something correctly. So in pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, we have the tools, the psychic tools of discernment through the ability to scan or feel energy, the ability to see energy, and the ability to hear subtle energy. So you have clairsentience, clairvoyance, and clairaudience, right? So those are different tools that we use to practice discernment. Also, understanding. So if somebody explains something to you and it doesn't make sense, that should be a tip. You ever have someone explain something to you, you don't quite get it, and you're like, yeah, I get it. That's coming from negative pride. Do you understand that? If you say, yeah, I get it, but you don't, you're coming from negative pride. But if somebody explains something to you and you go, yeah, I get it, it makes sense. Like A plus B equals C, not A plus B equals banana, right? So if something is clear and makes sense, and you've used your other tools to practice discernment to validate it, and the person who is giving you the advice or the information has a track record of success, then you take it as temporary truth. So you would have to look at, okay, I have 5 books on Feng Shui and they're all saying different things about the same principle. Well, either the principle is wrong or there's a misunderstanding of the principle, right? It's like the Wright brothers weren't proving that gravity didn't work. The Wright brothers were finding out that they were wrong in utilizing the laws of gravity. So they had to understand the laws of gravity better for them to utilize it. It's not like they changed the laws of gravity in order to send mankind flying through the air, right? So you have to practice discernment and you have to understand the principle. And if the principle makes sense, then you have a foundation to build something on. In general, you should build your life around principles and not around the nitty gritty things. Like, for instance, so you have vegetarianism, right? And if you ask many vegetarians, why do you not eat meat? And they say, well, because I want to be compassionate towards animals, towards the animal kingdom, right? Fair enough. You don't eat meat. But then you hear them speak about pop culture, about news, about politics, about religion, about other people, and they are very cruel and harsh and critical with their words and their thoughts. So which one is having a greater negative impact? Their hourly interactions with other people or the occasional time that they're not consuming meat? Which one has a more impact on the development of the soul? Not the fact that you're eating meat, but the words that are coming out of your mouth, the thoughts that are coming out of your mind. That has a greater impact. So if the principle is loving kindness and non-injury as to why you do what you do, then you can ask yourself, well, okay, I'm being loving and kind with the animal kingdom, which is a level of truth, but how am I being with the human kingdom and with myself? Right? Because I've known many, many, many vegetarians who are miserable people. And I don't say that jokingly, and I don't say that to put the vegetarians that I've met down over my life. I'm just making an observation. So they focus so much on not eating meat, right? Because they don't want to cause injury to the animal kingdom, but then they chastise everyone around them. So think about the effect that that's having and the energy coming back to them. So it's better to operate from principles than the nitty gritty details. So for instance, so many people focus on their door and Feng Shui, the color of their door. Got to have a red door, got to have a purple door, got to have this kind of door. But that is not that important compared to the entrance. Because what is it that you're ultimately trying to achieve? Why is the entrance, why is the door important? You go deeper. Is it really the door that's important? Is it really the entrance? What is happening? So that's why Pranic Feng Shui, developed by Grandmaster Cho Kuk Sui, is the first clairvoyantly validated Feng Shui class. Because we see the energy, we scan the energy, and we know what's happening with the entrance of a house when people go in and out of the entrance. Which that class is actually being offered very soon online by Master Ko, I think middle of August, if I'm not mistaken. Be there, be square. So you reconcile this by understanding the principle, by asking questions, by not taking things at face value. Always be polite and be respectful when you are questioning a teacher or questioning teachings. But if you can't get a satisfactory answer, you keep digging. If somebody says, just take it because I said so, or take it because that's how it's always been done. Nope, that's not good enough. That's lazy thinking. You have to understand why something is the way that it is. So don't be satisfied with superficial answers. But at the same time, if the person you're asking isn't giving you direct, clear, deep answers, then you politely move on. Okay? Things should be, all knowledge should be questioned, should be scrutinized, should be put under the microscope so you can have understanding. So you can see the mechanisms versus the two different sides. Believe everything, right? Which there are people like that. They never question, they go, okay, yeah, great, I'll do it. Or believe nothing and fight everything, right? You got to have the middle path. See how everything goes back to the middle? Fanatical viewpoints are not helpful. Even Grandmaster Chogo Koksui, a great spiritual teacher, when he was in his early 20s, he became an atheist until he validated the existence of God for himself. So he does the same thing. He goes, look, you don't have to believe in God. That's okay. He doesn't insult, he doesn't put down, and he also doesn't say, just believe me that God exists, because that didn't work for him, because his entire childhood, 3 kinds of religions were shoved down his throat, and people were saying, just believe it because we said so, just believe it because the holy book said it. He's like, yeah, but that doesn't move the needle. That doesn't help me. Until he validated it for himself, the existence of God. So if you don't understand something, it's okay. Seek greater understanding. Experiment. Make your own conclusion. And the last question, dun dun dun, what meditation would you most recommend to improve a relationship? Another great question. So within pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, there are many meditations, many meditations. Meditations for all kinds of things. Meditations for increasing your focus, meditations for increasing your energy, meditation for increasing your devotion, meditation for cleansing your energy body. There's many kinds of meditations for many different purposes. So for relationships, what are you primarily working with in relationships between you and another person? The emotions, the lower emotions of the solar plexus and the higher emotions of the heart. In general, do you have more mental relationships with people? Yes. But in general, where the conflict is too much solar plexus energy between you and the other person. So what's the lubricant for friction of the solar plexus? The love of the heart. So it's activating your heart on a daily basis through your meditation practices. It's about blessing that person with what? Love, which heals their aura, which transforms them and harmonizes the relationship. So one of the best meditations that you can practice is the Twin Hearts meditation with Om Mani Padme Hum. And there are several versions of the Twin Hearts meditation with the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the mantra of compassion and mercy. So when you focus on a person and on a relationship and you chant that mantra, it soothes the pain, sorrow, and suffering of you, the other person, the cords, and the beings connecting all of you or both of you. So it's very powerful. It's very healing. It's very transformative. But like anything, you can't just practice it once or twice and be like, a miracle didn't take place, not interested, I quit. Doesn't work. No, give it a fair shot. Just like trying a diet, just like trying an exercise program, just like trying learning a language from a certain person. You give it its fair try, a month, 6 months, and then you make your own conclusion. Hey, I'm not understanding this language any better than I did 6 months ago. It just doesn't work for me. This way doesn't work for me, right? So when you do Twin Hearts meditation with Om Mani Padme Hum in a relationship, it will pretty quickly change it, transform it, move it around, shake it up. So that's something to be aware of. Okay. So that would be one of the top meditations. Second to that, forgiveness. Again, connected to what? Solar plexus. Right? Because how can you have a healthy, happy, wholesome relationship if you and or the other person are mad at each other all the time? Right? And you have oppressed anger. So that's anger that's not being expressed verbally. It's not being worked out. So you may be smiling on the outside. Everything's great in our relationship, but you're seething inside, rotting from the inside out. Not recommended. So forgiveness. So those would be the 2 predominant meditations: Twin Hearts meditation with Om Mani Padme Hum and practicing the forgiveness meditation. You combine those 2, practice them for 14 to 30 days. That relationship will transform for the better. It may transform of you separating, but it won't be with all this drama, hurt, and pain. Or it may transform of you being deeply intimate and connected with one another. but it definitely will not stay the same. It can't. If there are karmic factors, that's a different story. But very few people I've ever met have followed Twin Hearts meditation, Om Mani Padme Hum, forgiveness combined in a relationship setting, and have it not improved. So I don't really know, if it didn't improve, what would you do? Pranic healing on you and the other person, and the connection between the two of you, and then some tithing. But that's about it. And learning a lesson, which is connected to forgiveness. Typically, when you have disharmony in a relationship, the lesson is forgiveness, patience, tolerance, understanding. I wonder if that's an alien aircraft in Sedona. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so I hope you guys got value out of today's questions. Again, what we do in the Inner Transformation membership site is practical spirituality. What's the theory? What's the mechanism? How do I apply it to improve my health, my relationships, my finances, my spiritual growth and development? Very, very, very important. Practical, practical, practical. Are you locked out? It shouldn't be. Strange, I didn't even know it closed. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Practical spirituality, taking the principles, applying them on a regular basis, and transforming your life. Okay? So let us close. Place your hands on your heart. Be aware of the love in your heart. Be aware of the gratitude, the happiness, the joy, the inner peace within the heart. Good. Be aware of the crown. Feel the crown expanding in all directions. And be aware of the heart and the crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respected and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, Lord Mahaguru Jamiling, Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, Lord Ganesh, the Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, to our divine selves, our higher souls, we humbly invoke for your divine light, love, and power, for your divine help, guidance, and protection, for inner and outer healing on all levels. Also to Saraswati for giving us the wisdom and intelligence to transform, to become a greater instrument of goodwill and the will to do good. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. With gratitude, respect, and love, we thank you in full faith. So be it. Thank you. Man, oh man. Oof. The invocations and the Thanksgivings are getting more and more and more intense, like palatable. And like afterwards, it's like, oh, totally forgot I actually had a physical body. Super weird. So lots of love to each and every one of you. I look forward to serving you in the near future, onwards and upwards. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Love you guys. Bye-bye.